Hey everyone, yours truly here, Jonathan Ray Holbrook, otherwise known as Big J on this channel, and FreezeFly87 over the years I've been on YouTube, before shutting my other channel down temporarily due to the COPA law that came into effect the very end of last year, but that's beside the point. I will go on ahead and just let this out right now. Last week, my grandmother passed away at 94 years of age. She was very sick. I mean, I would have expected her to go on for a couple more years, but, you know, she still had some of her memory left, but a lot of it she was losing. She couldn't really tell what year it was or anything, kind of by the way it almost in a lot of ways looked, and she had very bad balance. She had to have my aunt and some caretakers there look after her, and something tells me even if they weren't there, she probably would have died maybe last year or maybe even before that, the year before that. And the only reason why she was still breathing was on account of the fact that, that my Aunt Pamela was there to care for her and watch over her and be her nanny over those last few years. And that became her home. They both lived there, right there at my grandmother's house that she lived at since 1979. I used to spend just about every summer there growing up, too. Yeah, when I was growing up, I would spend all of my summers there at that house she had on 18398 Eden Lane. It was a very beautiful house, too, you know. It was a wide ranch house. It had a den. It had a basement. Boy, I tell you, that basement, it was a fun basement, but it was kind of scary, too, I thought. Sometimes I kind of would get scared having to walk through the main part just to get into like the guest room that I would hang out at down there, like when I would, you know, watch videos and all that. I'd have to play my Super Nintendo out on the like main part of the basement and plug it into that TV because it really couldn't work in the TV in the den area. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, but it really is sad that my grandmother, you know, she did a lot for me over the years, too. You know, she cared for my dad and my brother, you know, when my dad officially took re-management of the house we lived at in Chesterfield after my mom and dad separated, and so much went on during those times. She also, you know, would come and stay with me and my brother whenever my dad would go on a business trip to China. She would also, you know, buy me and Tyler like a lot of toys, junk food, just about all the fun stuff. And I tell you, you know, my grandma spoiled me more than my mom and dad or even my maternal grandmother and maternal grandfather ever would. And, you know, my paternal grandfather was, you know, he could be quite a bit of a stick in the mud too, but, you know, he actually was teaching me right from wrong as well. And he passed away 12 years ago, and I really do miss him too. And I'm glad, at least, that my grandmother is reunited with them in heaven. They're back together, officially reunited, you know, together where they belong, and that's a really good thing. You know, I'm pretty confident my grandma and grandpa both went to heaven because they were brilliant people, you know, and all that. You know, my grandma was fun-loving, you know, and everything, and boy, I tell you, you know, I would kind of inadvertently bully her too, you know, by asking her to spell stuff and all that. That I really regret. But then when I grew up, usually my grandma would like want me to do this, want me to do that, and was pushing and like demanding that I get out of my lazy territory. And it's like, you know, as I like got older, it was kind of the other way around in a lot of ways too. You know, it's like my grandma kept driving me nuts and everything, but I love her unconditionally. She loves me unconditionally. And I tell you, you know, me and my brother were her two favorite grandchildren of all. I mean, man, I can't believe I just said that out loud. But she loved all her grandchildren the same nonetheless. And she loved all her children the same. She loved everybody in her life pretty much. Unless they were overflawed. She was pretty critical too, you know, and would worry a lot, would kind of feel jealous over others, and would kind of like, you know, gossip about them and all that. But that's pretty much everybody that lives around here, from what I can tell. I can really tell that a lot of people around here just have the knack for, you know, bringing out a bunch of information, whether it's good or bad about that person. But at the end of the day, that's not really the way to behave or to think. But none of us are perfect. We are all human in this lifetime as long as it goes on. Even when we have like this pandemic over with, people are going to still continue on making mistakes and everything, going down wrong paths and just about all that, and we can only either choose to do the right thing, or we can just keep doing the wrong thing till it just gets us stuck on earth for even longer, but with more misery. If the more you do the right thing, I mean, that's just the way it is. The more you'll succeed in life, the more you'll get what you want, the more you'll probably end up winning over your crush. It's all about doing the right thing in your life in order to live such a spectacular one. I mean, I went through a lot of crazy crap in my day growing up. I did a lot of crazy stuff that a lot of kids would probably think beyond, but the fact that I have mild Asperger's, that's not really a shock. It's not a shock at all that I just did a lot of that stuff back in the day, just seeing as the fact that I had that like really big developing brain and all that. It's like I just kind of like learned all my lessons early in life and everything. Yeah, I really am going to miss my grandmother. I mean, she did a lot to support me growing up as a kid and everything. She'd get me the toys I want, the movies I wanted, the video games I wanted. In fact, I remember Christmas of 1996, she got me the N64 and Mario 64 along with it. One of the best Christmas gifts I ever got. And, she'd even get me some anime DVDs and everything. Like, a lot of that stuff she gave me, I regrettably don't have anymore. But I do still have some of it in some form. And some of it actually even physically. So in this video, I mean, I'm going to probably with further ado show you some of the stuff that Grandma either bought for me in person or I bought with money she gave me. Alright, here it goes. I'm going to be going over some of the VHSs in my VHS collection that my grandma either bought for me or I purchased with the money she gave me. Here's one right here. The original Ninja Turtles movie from 1990. This is the first ever live-action Ninja Turtle movie, and they were actually real live-action, and I tell you, I mean, it was great that they actually brought these four turtles to life, since they were a big part of my childhood and everything, and, I grew up a lot of my life watching the Ninja Turtles, and yeah, but then they kind of got watered down in like 1997, 98, and didn't really make an official comeback till 03, back when I was like into music more. But yeah, I mean, yeah, FHE, yeah. Originally it was New Line Cinema. They put FHE because I think FHE still had the rights to like turtle content on the whole, back when this was first released on VHS. But then I think New Line Cinema and FHE came to an agreement, which is why the New Line Cinema version of Secret of the Ooze and Turtles 3 doesn't have the FHE like this original film did. I will say that hands down, Secret of the Ooze is my all-time favorite turtle movie. It's even better than this one. I don't care what anyone says, but I still like this one a lot, though. It really is a great movie. Like I said, it's the first time you'll ever see a live-action version of the Turtles. It's something they got like a lot sooner than they probably would have anticipated. But anyway, yeah, like I said, this isn't the actual copy she gave me. It's one I bought from a flea market, but she did buy this for me, when I was 6 years old in a package. Alright. On to another one. The Beatles' Yellow Submarine. Yeah, I'm a big Beatles fan. I've been a Beatles fan since I was a little boy, thanks to my father. My dad was a big Beatle maniac when he was growing up, and he still was my first several years on Earth before he officially upgraded to the Stones, which in my opinion, I don't think the Stones are nearly as good as the Beatles. But the Beatles, they are a wonderful band, as you can see here. Yeah, it's the Beatles' Yellow Submarine remastered. It even comes in this yellow case and everything. Yeah, 1999 they re-released it in like better format and everything. And the Beatles sadly didn't voice themselves in this movie, but they have like this post-credit scene at the very end of this where they like volunteered to do it because they regretted not playing themselves in terms of voice acting for this movie. I actually hear that, and from a lot of people from the place I go to, the daytime support program, whatever you want, they actually kept telling me that there was a Beatles cartoon. I'm like, you have to be talking about this movie. But then they said, no, there was a one that was like on Saturday mornings back then. And then I finally decided to Google search it. And yeah, there actually was a cartoon show of the Beatles where they didn't like have like the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band look like they do in this here, but they did, however, have like the typical 1964 look when we all about the British invasion. You know, you had the Beatles, the Kinks, the Stones, and all that in 1964 being introduced to America, and that was the way the Beatles looked in that cartoon. Well, anyway, I'll go on ahead and show you the next one. Here's another one. Now, this isn't the exact copy that my grandma gave me, but it's one I bought from a flea market, I think. Again, Batman Returns. Now, when my grandma bought me this Batman Returns, well, not this exact copy, but when she got me Batman Returns on VHS for the first time, it was released in a trilogy box where you got Batman 89, this here Batman Returns, and Batman Forever, all three in one box. And it was to support Batman and Robin that came out that summer in the theater. And I actually do remember when I was staying with Grandma that summer, I saw Batman and Robin in the theater for the first time ever with my cousin Polly. I'm pretty sure my cousin Polly has been alerted that my grandmother passed away, but she unfortunately couldn't make the funeral due to her health conditions and everything. You know, she's kind of been sick herself lately and everything, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, like I said, you know, that came in a trilogy that year when Batman and Robin came out, you know, with Arnold as Freeze, you know, the beautiful Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. That's actually probably a better Batman movie than this here, personally, I think. And this here is a good Batman movie nonetheless, but I personally think Batman 89 was a whole lot better, though. Because I think Tim Burton added too much of his creativeness in this, and it just kind of made Batman look more darker and gloomy and depressed than what he actually is. While the Batman 89 movie is probably the Batman movie that has like the most authentic feel and actually reflection from the comic than any other Batman movie out there, probably with the exception of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Yeah, exactly. You know, of course, you know, I mean, you don't always have to do this, but at least in some of the Batman franchises, you gotta have a Joker in all of them, in my personal opinion. And it's sad to know that Ben Affleck's Batman never really got any Batman movies of his own or any of, you know, but nonetheless, I don't really like Jared Leto as a Joker, but I guess I better stop talking about beside the point. I am a big Bat fanatic, and I might as well move on before I get hooked talking about all this other stuff that's beside the point. She also bought me this here, Home Alone on VHS. Now, I actually owned the second Home Alone for the longest time. In fact, I actually, you know, my grandma actually bought me the second one even before this one, but I don't have it anymore. I think my little stepbrother had it. Well, he had it for a while, but I don't even know if he even still does. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, my grandma bought me this here too, like 20 years ago for Christmas one year. Apparently, it also came with another version of Home Alone and Home Alone 3, which I don't know what I did with those. I think I may have gave them to like a thrift store or something. But anyway, yeah, I mean, because, you know, I already had the second one. I didn't really like the third, so I, of course, held on to this one because I really wanted the first one there, because I realized the first Home Alone is definitely the best Home Alone out of every single Home Alone movie that's out there. Because, you know, they even made a Home Alone 3, a Home Alone 4, a Home Alone 5, and boy, just all those are just money throwers compared to these first two with Macaulay Culkin and Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. But I tell you, you know, this is definitely one of my favorite movies. In fact, little teaser here. This holiday season, I'm going to be starting a new series, like maybe every Christmas season, since Christmas is one of my favorite holidays, and the one time where it is to feel jolly and everything. And I'm going to be doing a little conspiracy theory that I looked up on the internet about this Home Alone movie, and it has to do with his Uncle Frank. I will get to that when I release the video and go through what I'm going to be talking about in it. But anyway, yeah, I'll go on ahead and just show you some other movies that my grandma bought or I bought with her money. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, I also bought Raiders of the Lost Ark too, but I don't know whatever happened to it. I thought I still had it, but I can't find it. I guess it must have got lost in the move or something, but anyway, yeah, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Yeah. Now this is a very great movie. I mean, she didn't buy it for me, but I did chores for her one summer, and I made like a lot of money and would like constantly buy these videos that whole summer. And yeah, I got the digitally remastered version of the movie. I'm pretty sure they made this on DVD, but I don't know if I don't think it came out on DVD at the same time as the digitally remastered VHS version, because even in the late 90s, early 2000s, people still hadn't quite upgraded to DVD at the time, because up until like 2002 or 03 around there, and not everybody had the money to afford a DVD player, a PlayStation 2 or whatever would play DVDs. And even a lot of those DVDs back in the day alone costed around maybe $25-$30. And, you know, it's still pretty much that way for a lot of Blu-rays and stuff, too. And that's just sad. But nonetheless, you can still buy a lot of Blu-rays at Walmart for like $5 each and like that little Big Ben thing. But why waste your time digging through that, you know, and especially when there's a probability that there's going to be a scratch or something faulty on that Blu-ray, because the disc is likely to get damaged with all that stuff cramped up in there. So it's just not a good idea probably to even buy Blu-rays from there too often anyway. But anyway, I'll go on ahead and show you another one. Here's another one I bought that summer going on 20 years ago with that money when I did chores for my grandmother. This is the Three Musketeers. Now, this is one of my favorite Disney movies right here. It definitely is. It's a Disney classic, and it's an underrated movie, I think. And it's got Chris O'Donnell before he ended up playing Robin in Batman Forever 2 years after this came out. And you know, I don't really care what anybody like says if they think it's a bad movie or anything, because it's really far from a bad movie. It's got a great, tremendous plot. It's very entertaining. You know, I mean, it's got an interesting villain played by Tim Curry and all that. You know, you even got Charlie Sheen in it, Kiefer Sutherland, and Oliver Platt, who were big shot actors at the time. All three teamed up as the Three Musketeers from the old classic fairy tale. And, you know, like I said again, you have Chris O'Donnell in there as D'Artagnan, who's training and doing everything he can to become the fourth Musketeer, because he realizes that it's his destiny to become a Musketeer because his father was, and he wants to follow his father's footsteps, and he does everything in his power to achieve that. And at the very end, he ends up doing that. You know, that there's a saying that if you put your thoughts and mind into anything you want to do, and if other people tell you you can't do it, if you overcome all the obstacles in your life and do whatever it takes to get there, you will. I mean, you know, there's a chance in everything in this lifetime. I mean, you know, whatever you're incapable of, you can definitely achieve that if you work real hard towards it, and just don't acknowledge what anybody says, because, I mean, even Daniel Bryan, you know, people kept telling Daniel Bryan he'd never wrestle again in the WWE, and then in 2018 he proved everybody wrong. He ended up, you know, coming back. He won the championship again, had several feuds with AJ Styles already, and, you know, I mean, seriously, never say never in this lifetime, because anything is possible. Alright. Now here's one Grandma actually did buy for me 20 years ago, The Hook with Robin Williams. This is a very great VHS tape. In fact, I actually got this on DVD too. And yeah, this is one that my grandma bought me, you know, one summer, like even 20 years ago before I started buying them myself. And yeah, it's all, you know, came out in 91 but was released in 92 on VHS. It actually came in like 2 different boxes. It was in this type of boxing, like as you can see, but there was also like just a regular boxing, you know, similar to this here. It came in box like that too. It's kind of good to know that like over the years, so many of these great VHS tapes had like different types of boxing for them and everything. But yeah, I mean, and you know, my grandma even bought me a lot of video games too. The first ever video game she bought me was Mario 2 on the NES. It was one summer back in 1993, you know, the first summer I spent in Virginia, you know, with my cousin Duran and everything, and I even spent some time with my grandma, and she bought me Mario 2 before I ended up going back home, and yeah, I played it a lot too, but that's still a Mario game to this day that I can't even beat. But I might go for it and try to challenge myself one day to buy it, to beat it. But anyway, yeah, and you know, my grandma would also, you know, buy me guitars and everything. She even paid to get me lessons one summer. I didn't really do too well at them, but yeah, even, you know, my grandma would always take me to Burger King about every day. She'd get me a Whopper with fries and everything, a drink with it. She'd even take me to McDonald's, Taco Bell, just about any place you could name too. And I even remember, you know, I mean, staying with Grandma 20 years ago on Thanksgiving. I mean, one day me and Grandpa even went to McDonald's, and I even got that high C McFlurry. That's right there when he like taught me to like just buy a small drink and you could go back and refill it. The only time you get like a large is if you're getting it to go. Which I kind of did that sometimes, but the people at the checkout says it comes with a medium drink. You can't get it small, and it's like sometimes they don't even negotiate. It's kind of a bummer. But yeah, and you know, me and my grandma, you know, and my grandpa, we'd go to church every Sunday morning. You know, we'd even go like 2 hours away from where they lived to go to the little Freedom Church and everything, and you know, all that. But seeing as the fact that my grandmother, who served a very big highlight in my life, is no longer here on this earth, you know, I mean, she's passed away, and she's gone all the way up to heaven to be with my grandfather and the Lord, because, you know, my grandma had a really big religious view of life and everything. You know, she went to church every Sunday when she was able to, you know, back when she was still in good condition to go. She would, you know, always say her prayers and everything before she went to bed. She'd read her Bible. She'd, you know, record a lot of church services and would watch a lot of church programming on TV. She even had like pictures of Jesus in that house she lived in. I mean, my grandma was the sweetest lady alive, and you know, there's just so much memories that I have of her that I want to share in this, but I probably don't even really have the time for it. But yeah, it's just I appreciate all she's ever done for me and everything, and I'm gonna even say this right now to you, Grandma Helen Elizabeth Holbrook. You were the best thing in my life, the best person in my life, the best family member that I ever had. I mean, you've done more for me than anybody else in my life ever could have, and you really, you know, helped me achieve a lot through my lifetime. You really cared for me, supported me, and I appreciate all of it. And I appreciate all the times you even spoiled me and my brother too. And yeah, I'll never forget you, Grandma. You were a big highlighted part of my life, and I'm gonna miss you forever. But if I'm accepted into heaven, if I can, you know, get closer to you, Grandma, I hope to be there with you again one day in another lifetime or wherever. But anyway, this is Big J here, Jonathan Ray Holbrook, and I am signing off.